Some of Nashville's hottest country music stars are traveling in style in luxury buses that were made right outside the Queen City.
And these buses are home on wheels as the artists travel thousands of miles across the country. Queen City News reporter Brad Baldeck is here with a look at why Cornelius was chosen as the manufacturing home for these million-dollar vehicles. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning, Ann Wyatt and Jason. You often see these buses when you're traveling on the interstate, and the company behind these buses say they wanted to isolate the manufacturing process outside of Nashville and found that the Charlotte area had a great pool of experienced workers to put these vehicles together.
There's a lot of talented folks in North Carolina.
Inside this Cornelius warehouse are about a dozen talented fabricators and builders, putting together luxury buses for other talented individuals, Nashville's country music singers and entertainers. These are more than just a bus. They're a home away from home that costs between $1 and $1.7 million.
Probably 65% of what happens on these buses are artists and their bands and entertainers sleeping.
And not just for 1 or 2 nights. These buses typically carry artists on tour for 200 days a year. A crew bus has 12 bunks with both a rear and front lounge, with all the amenities you would find in a typical home. The buses drive in off I-77 and into the Cornelius warehouse straight from Canada. They arrive as just a shell, with all the interior building happening here. Encore is the company behind the project.
It's also a time to treasure our loved ones.
A business born in 2020 during the pandemic shutdown.
You know, I couldn't spell pandemic, didn't know what that was, and when that hit us in early 2020 and in March, I remember in March of 20, we shut down our operations in Nashville for 2 weeks.
2 weeks turned into months. There were no concerts or tours to manage. Encore was started as a way to bounce back, a new bus business that leases these luxury rides, something the music industry said was needed when Nashville returned to normal.
I will say this, our industry is a big family. Everybody kind of banded together, good, bad, and ugly, and figured out how to survive it, and I think it's come back stronger than it ever was.
So right now, Encore has 15 units that are on the road as part of the lease fleet, and typically these buses have a 10 to 15 year lifespan, so they are built to last, and also they're built so they don't break down.
I mean, they're incredible.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want is $1 million bus breaking down. Yeah, they're fantastic. They got to take a long time to build, right? How long do they take start to finish?
Well, they are taking longer, especially now. If you watch the news, you know that we have a supply chain issue.
Yeah.
So I asked them, typically they said it can take 6 to 8 weeks. But right now, they're actually taking about 6 months to complete because of all the things they have to go into them. They have generators and water and kitchens and beds and lighting.
It's on wheels.
It's more expensive. It's smaller than my house, but more expensive and more luxurious than my house, and it's on wheels. So they are going to try to get as many done this year as possible and bring more into their lease fleet. And that's the thing is, these are leased. They're not owned by the artist outright. They come with a driver.
If they have a tour coming up, then they can lease that out.
Exactly, and like we said in the story, they're on tour for like 200 days a year, so they need these buses for a really, really long time.